Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sachin Warghade. I'm a teacher in Tata Institute of Social Science. I've been teaching in the program called Regulatory Policy and Governance. I'm here to tell you about briefly what this master's program on regulatory policy and governance. This is a program which, as the name suggests, it cuts across public policy, it cuts across regulations, and also it cuts across governance. So it brings three things together. Now, you would know public policy, you would know regulation or law as a program, but why these three things together? Many of us who were in the initial phase of designing this program had some experience of working on regulations. And what do I mean by regulations is, for example, I was working on water regulation where we had a water regulatory authority in the state of Maharashtra. So I was involved in study and analysis and awareness around a particular tool of regulation, which is water tariff. Okay, so water tariff as an instrument of regulation. So that was an experience. Similarly, my parent organization earlier, which was Prayas, where I worked, where Prayas has been working on energy regulation a lot. So there also again, you have state level electricity regulators all across India. You have a central electricity regulatory commission. So you will see many sectors, economic sectors as well as social sectors. You see these regulatory authorities emerging, and this is a global phenomena across the world, where the model of regulatory agencies, which was has evolved in USA or Europe, has gradually diffused and spread across the different countries. And this has to be seen, especially in the context of the reforms, especially deregulation that has been happening over the years as part of the overall liberalization program. But paradoxically, it is seen that it is not a complete deregulation, it is actually a re-regulation that is happening in all these sectors. And it is in this context that we thought that there is a need for professional training in form of regulatory policy and governance, which will help create more socially sensitive regulators for future. So it's not just about creating regulators, but also various stakeholders, because we need public interest advocates also. We need people from the various stakeholders, for example, farmers who should understand regulations and they can then participate in the regulatory proceedings. We need economists to look at the economic efficiency of regulatory aspects. So this is a multidisciplinary program. This is how we designed it to evolve and develop and train professionals who can work in the regulatory field. Now there are two notions of both the ideas, regulatory policy and regulatory governance. Regulatory policy would mean that one is the policy of creating regulations. Okay, so how regulations actually should be framed, what is a process, what is a contained, how they can be made more effective, efficient, equitable, socially equitable. So this is the idea of the policy of making regulation. At the same time, there's another notion which says that increasingly to give effect to the policy, the government policy, the government is going through the route of regulation. Same with governance. To give effect to the governance, regulation is becoming an important mode of governance. So, from both these angles, regulation become very important, and that is what we teach in this 2 year master's program on regulatory policy and governance. You will see that this is a very niche program. It is one of its kind in India. There are such programs in UK, for example. LSE offers a similar program, or in Australia, Monash University, or Pennsylvania University offers in USA some regulatory programs. So it is becoming an important field of study, research, and profession. That is where we locate our program. Thank you. Yeah, hello. The Masters in Regulatory Policy and Governance program. So, this program is for which kind of students or candidates is one question that you might have. And for that, you need to understand what this program, what do we do in this program, what is taught in that program. To understand the program, you might look at it as like a pyramid, the base of which is various disciplines and disciplinary knowledge that you create. It involves conceptual, theoretical, and perspective building courses that we take. And when I say discipline, I mean various important disciplines which are relevant to regulatory policy and governance. For example, economics, law, finance, social sciences, basically. So these kind of form the backbone of the program. And as you go ahead in that pyramid, you have more practically applied kind of courses. For example, regulatory impact analysis or instruments of regulation. Or we have then sectoral regulation, where these knowledge is actually applied in different sectors. So you get exposure to various infrastructure related sectors, safety related, for example, risk regulation in food safety, or you get exposure to microfinance as one of the. Now, these sectors are not areas of expertise, but just to tell you how this whole multidisciplinary knowledge can come together in particular sectors, and it becomes more relevant and practically useful body of knowledge around regulation. The third, the peak, is actually the independent work that you do. So you are supposed to not only learn but also produce your own knowledge, produce assignments in all courses, but also at the end of the program you are also coming out with your own dissertation and thesis. It's like your research project. So we also give a lot of emphasis as part of Tata Institute of Social Science on research methodology. So you are trained in qualitative, quantitative data analysis and other forms of research methodology, and then you apply those to your areas of interest in regulation and governance. So this is how the program is. We also have a lot of exposures at the field level in form of various internships that you are allowed to do with organizations. Also regulatory clinics, which allow you to engage with regulatory professionals and actually contribute in some extent based on analysis. So this is how the program is. So if you are looking for a multidisciplinary approach, you're ready to learn various disciplines and are looking at application of that in different areas of development, policy, governance, and you have an urge to look at regulatory problems and try to develop new policies, new governance systems to address some of these. This course should be for you. So we are not looking at candidates from especially specific disciplines. It is open for any disciplines, and if you can take that challenge to learn a multidisciplinary program like this. So this is how the program is designed, and we welcome you to apply. Thanks. The regulatory policy and governance program offers quite a good prospects for students who pass out from the program. We are almost been running this program for 7 to 8 years now, and we have a cohort of alumni of the program, and we have seen that students have taken very interesting trajectories in their career by doing this program. For example, often students ask whether they need to be engineers or they need to be to tackle something like infrastructure regulation, let's say electricity regulation, or they should be economics background they should come from. But we say we are open for different backgrounds for the very reason because we train you here. So there are examples where people from political science have taken up electricity regulation. They have taken up hardcore techno-economic analysis of electricity tariff regulation as part of their job with consultancy agencies, infrastructure consultancy agencies. They have gone for higher studies doing PhDs on regulatory agencies. These are different trajectories that students have generally taken. So there is no hard and fast uh, framework, or it is not very narrow that you work only in those sectors. Students have gone for work with corporate in the corporate sector. For example, now there are various policy and regulatory sales within the corporate sector, and so we have seen students working there. Some of the students have also joined the social sector. For example, they have joined NGOs, think tanks, policy analyst groups who are looking at policies, regulations from a public interest perspective. Some of them have been working with regulatory agencies that are already there in different sectors. So these are different prospects available for you. There is a range. Many of them are going for higher studies and would wanting to take up academics and research in this area also. So these are the various ways in we can look at the program future prospects. Thank you. Yeah, hi. So this Masters in Regulatory Policy and Governance program is run by the faculty within the School of Habitat Studies in Tata Institute of Social Science. The School of Habitat Studies is one of the pioneering schools within the institute as well as across the country on this very important area of habitat. So habitat is one which is our own living environment, the living habitat, as well as the ecological habitat of wildlife and biodiversity and so on. So it is quite an encompassing perspective we bring in the school. The focus is on sustainability of such habitats, and when we say sustainability, it touches upon almost all aspects of the sustainability metrics, including regulatory policies and governance. So, how regulatory policies and governance can be framed, implemented, governed to ensure the sustainability of our habitat. So, that is where we are connected to the habitat schools and the habitat studies.